All right, and we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about in our live stream. So the world is waking up to the insane value proposition of the Ethereum network. We're seeing a lot of demand flow into this space based upon some things that are coming down the pike for ETH. The narrative is really changing around this technology and around the asset itself. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about that in this video and what to watch out for. Okay, so we're going to look at that. We're going to look at a lot of other news updates that have happened in the space since yesterday, answer some of your questions, and a lot more. Again, we do these live streams Monday through Friday on this channel. Just turn on notifications, subscribe. You're going to find out about those whenever we go live. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to know how to master blockchain step-by-step start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. So I got people jumping in the chat here. We got Coach Chab, Xavier, Automatic Beats, Aman, Adrian, Tyler, Dylan, KP, Cryptonomy, hope I'm saying that right. Overwing, Risky Crypto, Adrian, lots of people jumping in today. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. We got a lot to cover today. So the first thing I want to talk about is the incoming supply shock for Ethereum. Okay, it's kind of already here, but I expect this to grow, especially with everything that's coming down the pike for the Ethereum ecosystem. The narrative around a lot of this is changing. We're starting to see some things float around in the community that I want to talk to you about and what you need to understand, okay? So we've been talking about some of the streams, of course. We've got the merge coming for ETH most likely this year. A lot of people are hopeful that's going to happen in Q2 of 2022, probably by the end of June. I think it's probably going to happen a little after that, but hey, if it happens in Q2, I'll be excited. But let's talk about some factors that I haven't really talked about on these streams that are starting to kind of change for ETH. Of course, after post-merge for ETH, we talk about this more in a minute. ETH is most likely going to become deflationary, okay? We're starting to see ETH like locked up, all that type of stuff, okay? We're going to recap some of that in case you're not familiar with all those, but I've been talking about those in the stream, so I don't want to front-load the video with those. I want to talk about a couple different ideas that are starting to really circulate among the Ethereum community and are starting to kind of bubble up and actually spread towards new people who I believe are entering into this space, and some factors that I think are contributing to the supply shock that we're starting to see and that I anticipate to grow as these factors become exacerbated. They're not bad, they're actually good things, but it's just, well, you'll see what I mean here in a minute. So, of course, we're already starting to see some life in the crypto space in the short term. I'm not going to get too crazy about what's going to happen with prices in the short term. We are starting to see some confidence return in the marketplace. We're starting to see some recovery in the equities markets and stock markets, basically. And I think we're very correlated with crypto in that regard in the short term. My point of this video is not to try to get into price forecasting, but actually talk about the economics behind what's happening right now, what's likely going to happen in the future, assuming that demand, in the very least, stays constant to what it is right now. So let's talk about two narratives that are floating around the Ethereum community right now that I believe are trying to bubble up and actually have a ripple effect outside that community that's attracting a lot more eyeballs to ETH, the asset itself. Again, I was talking about at the beginning of this video, I think we're seeing lots of people kind of wake up to the idea that, like, hey, this ETH thing, like, we got to really pay attention to this. For a long time, like when we had this, explosive, these explosive bubbles previously in the bull run that I'm just going to say we're still a part of, okay, on the bigger picture, grand scheme of things. Everybody's like, oh, we don't want ETH. We want these explosive alt L1s, okay, that are supposed to do everything better than ETH with no downsides, right? We've seen a lot of those projects get absolutely decimated, of course, over the past, several months. I'm not here to hound that idea, but we have seen ETH hold up pretty well in relation to those. But a couple things I want to talk about is, the reason I bring that up is because for a long time, people are like, hey, that ETH thing is too expensive. It's a dinosaur. Nobody will want to use it. Of course, it's all contrast bias. Those are arguments that you try to do to try to, take on your opponent. How do you make yourself look good? Well, you try to make somebody else look bad. You don't talk about the good things you're doing. You talk about the bad things that they're doing, and it makes you look better by contrast, especially when you don't have the discernment to understand what the technical trade-offs are. So you got to understand that, but Let's talk about the good things that are definitely having a ripple effect now that the narrative's shifting from ETH not to be this slow, dinosaur that nobody cares about to being this sort of attractive thing that lots and lots and lots more people are starting to become attracted to. So the first is for ETH staking rewards, okay? And we mentioned this some on the stream, but I don't think I ever really totally broke this down. But I'm starting to see it circulate more and more online. And more people talk about it, and I think this is one of the things that's having a ripple effect out into the broader world. Okay, we can see some evidence of that here in a minute. But one is actually about what's going to happen to ETH holders who want to stake their ETH whenever Ethereum turns on proof of stake. Because again, the big event that's on the roadmap for ETH is the merge happening this year. This is where Ethereum 2.0, the beacon chain that's live right now, gets merged back into Ethereum 1.0, and the ETH chain that everybody uses is going to become proof of stake. So that means you can take your Ether, lock it up into the network, and earn a passive income reward for doing that. And so basically, the idea that the returns on ETH staking are a lot higher than what people are anticipating is starting to kind of bubble up outside just the little tiny Ethereum bubble. And I think that's really starting to cause a ripple effect. To say that basically ETH is now going to be this big, important, high blue chip asset that, has not seen an insane drawdown during the corrections that we've seen compared to some of these alternative layer ones. That's going to bear high yield while you hold it. Okay. So let's talk about the ETH staking rewards in general. So basically ETH is a staking asset. The whole idea is that whenever you stake it, like the more people stake it, the less the fees are. And the fewer people stake it, the higher the fees are. It's an incentive to try to secure the network, okay? Now, the staking rewards come from Ether that's created from the blockchain. And those rewards, keep getting advertised as around 5%. Maybe that's going to go down the more and more people stake. We don't know for sure. But what a lot of people aren't factoring in are actually the fees that are paid from the network, from the people who use the network itself, in addition to the ETH that's created by the blockchain, okay? And that's actually likely going to make the ETH staking rewards much, much higher than, 3 to 5%, okay? So let me just pull up a kind of an explainer about that on my screen so that you can understand that. But this, I think, is one of the factors that's starting to have a ripple effect outside the Ethereum community itself that's causing more and more people, especially the smart players in this space, to say, oh, yeah, this ETH thing, I got to pay attention to that. So let me just pull up a diagram. So this is from an older newsletter from the guys that are Bankless, so definitely a great channel if you want to check them out for sure. Full credit, I'll put a link to this in the live chat replay here. I'm just going to paste it in. This is a little bit older diagram, okay? It's like the numbers are probably a little bit off, but it still illustrates the point. I mean, it's even like estimating a merge Q1 2022. That obviously didn't happen. We're at the end of Q1 2022. It's one of the reasons I don't think we're gonna merge in Q2 either, but we'll see. Anyways, so look, basically, we're talking about the fees that are the rewards, the actual staking rewards for ETH, the asset itself, being higher than just the base rewards that get created by the blockchain. Because again, whenever you stake, you're getting paid from new ETH that's getting created from the blockchain. You're also getting paid from fees that you get paid whenever transactions are created. If I send an ETH from my account to yours, I pay a fee to do that. Part of that fee gets broken up and paid to the miners right now. Part of it gets erased from the network. And the part that's going to the miners right now is going to go to stakers later. So these numbers are pretty high. It's not going to be 25%. But in between the lean conservative and the conservative, it could put the actual staking rewards closer to 10%. Okay. So when you combine the rewards created by the blockchain and the rewards paid by people who are using the network, you're looking at potential staking rewards of closer to 10%, all right? In actuality, we don't know exactly what they're going to be, but we're talking, not 3%, probably not 5%, a lot higher than that, okay? And so that's insanely attractive for a really blue chip asset like ETH itself, especially one that post-merge is going to be deflationary, most likely, all right, most likely. So what do I mean by that? So, quick recap on that in case you're brand new. So, now ETH is undergone a network upgrade where basically now now whenever you do a transaction on ETH, let's say I send ETH from my account to yours, I pay a transaction fee. That fee gets split up into two parts, a base fee and the miner tip, okay? And the base fee gets burnt, gets erased from the network, okay? And so the amount of ETH that's getting erased from the network every transaction is a certain amount, and then new ETH is created by the blockchain, and those have an effect on one another. So post merge, the amount of new ETH that's created by the blockchain is going to go down significantly, and that means that more ETH is going to get burned than ETH is getting created, which basically means that ETH is negative inflation or basically deflationary. Okay, and you can see all that on like a website like Ultrasound Money. Okay, you can see the amount of ETH created every single year based on the current network activity, and then the issuance versus the burn. Simulate the merge, all right, that makes ETH negative inflation or deflationary on an annualized basis, okay, based on the activity over the past 1 day, 7 days. If you look at it all, if you just do an average since we had this upgrade, it'd be negative 2.5% almost per year, which, let's just assume that the network activity stays the same and doesn't go up, or just doesn't dip significantly. That means it's going to be deflationary. So you got a deflationary asset with really high staking returns, doesn't have, 90% drawdowns in a correction, bright technical roadmap, is fixing the gas fee issues with scaling now. Like you don't have to wait for Ethereum 2.0 to get out, to come out fully before that happens. Again, the merge is not going to fix Ethereum's gas fees. Never been advertised to. Some people get misled by that or just make that false assumption. But I think word is getting out for all that stuff, okay? And those are the type of things that are having a ripple effect outside the Ethereum community itself. Another big factor that I think is going to likely influence the supply shock, because that's what I'm really going to focus on, is the supply shock. People want the ETH, but there's not enough ETH to go around. Okay, so like I was talking about before, more people wanted to hoard their ETH, hold on to it, stake it, high returns. ETH's becoming deflationary, less ETH on the market. Okay, the other one is that the amount of there's a lot of people don't realize that the ETH right now and ETH 2.0 is locked up and is not liquid. So basically, if you want to stake ETH right now, you just can't withdraw it. You got to send it to the beacon chain, this new blockchain over here that's going to get merged back in, hence the merge, but you can't get it back till after the merge. That's another factor in the supply shock. Now, a lot of people don't know that ETH is not going to become available right when the merge happens, okay? So basically, like, if you look at like even the ETH.org or Ethereum.org website talking about the merge and what the timeline is, basically the merge with the beacon chain, all right, what's going to happen? So what's going to happen after the merge? So there's a lot of people that think that basically like, well, like whenever the merge event happens, that's when all the ETH's going to get withdrawn and people are going to like either dump it if the price is high, or like we like there's a lot of speculation if that's going to be like a buy the rumor, sell the news situation, and then all the stakers like take their ETH and dump it. But one thing a lot of people don't realize is like whenever the merge happens, like you're not going to be able to just instantly withdraw your ETH. There's going to be this like post merge cleanup. Okay, so there's gonna be this period after the merge happens where the ETH that's locked up is still not liquid, and then another thing has to happen, and we don't exactly know how long that's gonna be. So let's look at, so immediately after the merge, some features such as withdrawing staked ETH will not yet be supported. Okay, these are planned for a separate upgrade to follow shortly after the merge. So stay up to date with Ethereum Foundation Research Development blog for those curious to learn about what happens after the merge. So this is presented by Vitalik Buterin on April 2021 at the ETH Global event. So again, some of this has been public knowledge for a long time, but I'm starting to see these types of things sort of circle around in the ETH community and actually become, have a greater awareness outside of this little tiny bubble. And that's one of the reasons I think it's so important. And one of the reasons I think we're seeing people really flock into this asset, into this space right now. Of course, we've seen, a significant ETH outperformance over the past 7 days. A lot of really craziness happening here. I'll talk about some other factors with this for sure. Or more data to back this up, right? Like we're seeing we're seeing more, and we're basically seeing ETH just evaporate off of centralized exchanges. Okay, so this is from September 20th. All right, or September 2020, all the way to like present day. Okay, and of course we saw an uptick in ETH on exchanges. As this price correction happened, and while we kind of had this fear in the marketplace from the Federal Reserve's monetary policy and also the international conflicts happening in Europe, right? But then now we see another thing fall off a cliff here. Okay, so basically we have we're pushing 15% of the entire supply on exchanges. Where back here when we started, we were more 30%, like almost a third of all the ETH supply to way less. Okay. So other metrics that we're looking at right here, like the other day we looked at the Ethereum validator queue, and then how we got a huge spike of validators that are joining the network. Okay, and we're that's even crazier for the supply shock that we're talking about, okay? Because again, like I was saying before, you've got this beacon chain over here that's the ETH's all locked up, it's not liquid, can't be withdrawn, it's not for sale. And once the merge happens, it's not instantly going to hit the market like a lot of people think. And so you can actually track, how much the activity for that, okay? Like I was saying, we're seeing this huge spike of new validators enter into the queue to get ready for the merge, okay? You can also track the total number of validators that are, in there. All right. Of course, this is a cumulative graph, so it never goes down. So you got to understand that with some statistical literacy here. But hold on, try to change the resolution here. But you can see this number, go up like crazy. Okay. So this is all in groupings of 32 ETH that is getting locked up and is not for sale and is not going to be available for sale until after, some undetermined amount of time after the merge for this cleanup to take place. Okay, so this is another huge factor in the shock, and also the thing you have to understand is this is also huge for the confidence of the entire Ethereum network that more and more people, or more and more ETH, I should say, is a better metric, is being entrusted to this event. Okay, so just because you're seeing a total number of ETH getting locked up, that does not necessarily mean it's a total number of people, right? This could all be one person for all we know. It's not, right? But just saying in terms of statistical literacy, this is about the number of validators. I could run multiple validators, right? That doesn't mean that if I decided to open 100 new validators, that doesn't mean 100 new people. It's just 100 new validators. But another reason I think that we're seeing this is more staking as a service products hit the scene. We're seeing people like Lido, Rocket Pool, all these sort of DeFi staking, platforms. They are basically staking ETH for you. Okay, then you're doing a smart contract version of it, or public, or centralized exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken. If you want to stake your ETH on that, they're doing it for you. So you could have lots of people front running sort of that opportunity, but still that's based on perceived demand from their users too. So you got to factor that in. People ask all the time, hey, how can you stake ETH if you don't have 32 ETH to run a validator, or you don't want to run a validator? Well, those are some options. You definitely need to do your own due diligence on each of those options in terms of staking with a smart contract, understanding what the risks are there, and also staking on a centralized exchange, what the risks are there. In most cases, you're going to be held to the same standard as regular validators in terms of, when you can withdraw your ETH versus when you can't. Okay, so definitely understand that for sure. Now, in terms of the rewards that you're going to receive from the network fees versus the block subsidy, I think that's going to depend on where you stake and what they are actually going to pay out. So you got to kind of read the fine print on that one. I don't have the scoop on what each provider is going to do in terms of paying out their users, whether they're going to include the fees or if they're going to just pay the block subsidies. So yeah, we're seeing lots and lots and lots of demand jump in the space for this particular stuff. Again, I think some other big factors for sure. And what's going on is just the prices right now. Again, this is not, I'm not making this video to say that like the ETH price is just going to the moon tomorrow. Okay. That's never like what I try to do in this channel. You know, my big focus is on the long-term value proposition of this and the technology, what the technology can do, and how that technology can actually affect cryptocurrency prices, because the technology is really about crypto in itself. And what you do with the tech affects the economics of the thing itself in terms of making it attractive, you know, for demand, like creating more use cases. The more use cases you create, the more demand you create. As long as the cryptocurrency is sound economically, that gives more people reason to hold it. And because of that basic supply and demand economics, that has a positive increase in the price over time. Of course, I'm a big believer in network adoption, and how network adoption for that reason can correlate to the increased price in cryptocurrencies themselves, particularly around an asset like ETH. You know, one use case for crypto that people don't talk about enough is just making money, right? I mean, speculation, that's like one of the first use cases for crypto in and of itself. And when cryptos are below their all-time high, that use case becomes more attractive. Okay. So, you know, as we've seen, you know, ETH still is, you know, still a solid, you know, 25%-ish, maybe a little more, below its all-time high, right? That makes it an attractive buy for sort of smart players, especially everything that we've got coming up down the pike, for the ETH, the asset itself. I think we're seeing, you know, I think we're starting to see some fears in the marketplace kind of start to wind down from what's been going on with the policies with the central bank of the United States. We got some clarity on interest rate hikes and all that type of stuff. What's happening with international conflicts. Right? I think like some of that fear has started to subside a little bit. I think we're seeing that reflected in the stock market. You know, I basically have been saying over and over and over again that I think that, you know, crypto is highly correlated to stocks right now in terms of people's appetite for risk. Okay. That I didn't think we'd see like, you know, any kind of, you know, potential recovery in the short term for crypto if the stock market was just like continuing to, you know, take a nosedive. So, at least in the short term, we're seeing some good news on that front. I don't have a crystal ball knows next. We could be at a very volatile time where there's still more pain ahead. All right, I'm not trying to say that that's not the case. But in the short term, you know, things do look like we have some relief, and I do think that in the short term, everything I'm talking about is an important factor in the price action that we're currently seeing. So let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Is there more pain ahead? Or do you think we've hit a bottom? Somebody says, hey, found your channel yesterday. I started 10 hours YouTube course. Thank you for all you have. Awesome. I'm so glad that you're in our tribe now and that you are taking those courses. So definitely check this out. We just put out some new tutorials. We've been on a pretty good streak. We're starting to try to do one good tutorial every single week. All right. So make sure you subscribe. Watch out for those. Again, we're trying to put out one big high value tutorial every single week. A couple to watch out for. We just added a tutorial on Ethers.js. Okay. So it's been a highly requested tutorial. How do I get started with Ethers.js? How do I learn the fundamentals so I can build my own apps with that particular library? Definitely check out that. It's a full 90+ minute course. Of course, we launched one on an NFT marketplace. Okay. So how to code an NFT marketplace like OpenSea. We just talked about how to code a metaverse with Three.js, okay? And we got another metaverse video coming out pretty soon about how to do an entire thing. We got CryptoBot tutorial and a lot more amazing stuff coming up. So definitely check out those whenever you finish. Somebody says crypto is not stocks. Yeah, it's right. Crypto is not stocks. It's crypto. However, almost everything has been correlated based on high fears, at least in terms of liquid assets. Real estate's been a little bit different story. I think real estate has continued to see a inventory shortage across most of the United States, at least. And I think there's a lot of people who are seeing what's happening with the stock market, you know, who have wanted to put their money in real estate instead. So I think it's had less of an impact on the short term. Although we could see a slowdown in real estate at some point, but we'll see. I don't know for sure. Someone says starting to feel bullish again. That's Alden says starting to feel bullish again. Somebody says I hinted about airdrop. Was it news today? I'm trying to think about what I was going to talk about with airdrop. Somebody says Ethereum is operating a smart contract. Is it easy to buy? When to get? So I said get value up here. My ETH staking with smart contracts. Definitely go check out something like any of those decentralized staking providers I was talking about before. Somebody says they love the new tutorial videos. Awesome. Look into the camera number 1, bud. Thanks, Steve. What do I think about 28% tax in India? That's a lot. Somebody says no slowdown in real estate anytime soon. Yeah, I understand that sentiment. There's a huge shortage. All right, we got supply chain issues, we got labor shortages. The demand is still high. We'll just have to see what happens with interest rates. I mean, if we see people, if interest rates go up 2 entire points, it's going to have some effect. We'll have to see what happens. Because the affordability of housing goes way down. I forget what the stat is. I think it's like by every, I think generally speaking, like affordability drops by like 10% for every 1 percentage point increase. I would like my initial logic would think to be a 5x multiplier because you've got most people, the 20% down payment, but lots of people you get loan packages where they have more than 80% loan to value. So that could be why. Somebody says, what is your opinion of the layer 2 loop ring LRC? So loop ring is definitely a cool project. There's lots of promising layer 2s out there. It's hard to know exactly what's going to take off for sure in the long term. I've got some more videos coming out about from pretty cool layer 2s that you definitely want to subscribe for. Check those out. Somebody says they're currently doing the Ethers.js course. Awesome. Yeah, definitely check that out. Ethers.js course if you haven't already. So somebody says, how long does it take to get a decent understanding of blockchain solidity if someone basically puts full time into it? And if you put full time into it, like you'd be surprised at how much you could learn in a matter of months. Okay. Definitely go to my YouTube homepage, check out these videos. I forget exactly which video it is. I think it's this one, how to get your first blockchain developer job in 2 months. Okay. So this is actually a story from somebody who went through the boot camp and they did exactly that. They got their first job in 2 months. So they put full-time effort into it. All right. Not everybody has that time. I'm not saying that's what everybody needs to do. This person quit their job to learn blockchain and do full-time. I don't typically recommend people just like quit their job to learn. Okay. I usually say just stay wherever you're at and then find the amount of time that you can comfortably devote and then just stick to that. Okay. But this person did do it in 2 months. So the person in the chat's asking me how long does it take if you can do it full-time effort. Well, let's just assume that you already have that full-time. Well, that's somebody who did it in a few months. Now, there's no guarantee that's going to happen to you. There's lots of factors involved, but I'll just put it this way. If you can put full time in and you can do everything that I talk about in this channel, you're going to learn pretty fast. Somebody says, how long is full time? 8 hours a day or 16 hours a day? Not 16 hours a day. Like there's a couple of schools of thought on this. Okay. Like, it just depends on the type of person you are. Have you ever successfully done anything consistently for 16 hours a day, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks on end? If that's you, you're probably not asking this question in the first place, but if that's you, then do it. Just see what happens. Like, you're going to learn super, super fast. Now, you're going to get diminishing returns in the amount of time you spend learning to code beyond about 4 to 5 hours a day, to tell you the truth, because your brain can only really focus on intense stuff like that for a handful of hours per day, now it'll still keep focusing for longer and longer and longer. It's just the amount of benefit that you get from that time goes down significantly basically with each additional hour that you spend, okay? So 16 hours a day, 5 days a week, that may only like double your pace. Like it's counterintuitive, right? So I'm just kind of throwing rough numbers out here. So if you spent 4 hours a day, let's say that's like the optimal time to get the most you possibly can out of your coding. It's optimal. It's not like you can get more, but let's say that's the most optimal, okay? If you spent 8 hours a day, let's say you only get 30% more, okay? Now let's say you spent 16 hours a day and it's only like 100% more, okay? So there's some numbers somewhat that approximate that. That's what diminishing returns would look like. So you're still gonna get twice as much, but it takes you 16 hours to get twice as much rather than 8 hours, okay? So you're gonna learn a lot faster. I mean, the fastest way to learn for sure is through immersion, but like what you're doing for all those 16 hours wouldn't necessarily look like what you're doing for the first 4 hours. Like the first 4 hours may be like super intense focused work, and then like there's a lot of reinforcement or just like talking to people, Googling stuff, trying to make other ideas stick for the other time. Almost nobody watching this video is going to devote 16 hours a day, so it's kind of a moot point. But you'd be surprised what you can do for at least an hour a day of focus work. Now, the more time you spend, the better, but you're probably going to burn out if you do 16 hours a day. And when I learned to code myself for the first time, I had a lot of time available to me. So there were days where I was spending like 12 hours a day. But I can tell you from experience, like, that's hard. That's hard. But if you can do it, do it. You can get there a lot faster. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That leaves these videos out so the more people learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Definitely go to my YouTube homepage. Check out those free tutorials. Again, we've been putting out some new ones for sure. Let's just see here. We've been adding them to this playlist right here, these free blockchain development courses. Definitely check those out. If you like those videos, you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you'll take a master shortcut entirely, actually become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. Help people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp.